The Battle of Uoc was a French victory during the Sino-French War. The battle was fought to relieve the French garrison of Tuyenquang, under siege by the Tianqing Sung's Yunnan Army and Liu Yongfu's Black Flag Army. The French commander at Uoc, Colonel Jacques Duchesne, would later distinguish himself as the conqueror of Madagascar. Background: the French installed a post at Tuyenquang in June 1884 in the wake of the capture of Hung Hoa and Tai Nguyen. Tuyenquang, an isolated settlement on the Clear River, was the most westerly French outpost in Tonkin, and was more than 100 kilometers away from the French garrisons in Hung Hoa and Tai Nguyen. During the summer and autumn of 1884 the post was garrisoned by 2 companies of the 1st Battalion, 1st Foreign Legion Regiment, under the command of Chef de Bataillon Frogger. The outbreak of the Sino-French War on the 23rd of August 1884 exposed the post to attack by Tianqing Sung's Yunnan Army and Liu Yongfu's Black Flag Army. Supply difficulties delayed the Chinese concentration around Tuyenquang, but advance elements of the Yunnan Army began to harass the post on the 12th of October 1884, and Frogger's garrison had to fight off a number of nuisance attacks by the Chinese between 13 and the 19th of October. Malaria had also taken a heavy toll of Frogger's men, and by the end of October 170 men out of the garrison's total strength of 550 men were unfit for duty. During October and November 1884 the Farsi gunboats Revolver and Mitrailleuse, based at Tuyenquang, and the gunboats Bourrasque, Eclair, Mutin and Trombe, operating out of Hung Hoa, mounted a number of dangerous supply runs along the Clear River between Hung Hoa and Tuyenquang in support of the small French garrison at Tuyenquang. The first supply run, made by Revolver and Mitrailleuse on the 15th of October 1884, was successful, but at the end of October the Black Flags occupied Uoc, cutting off Tuyenquang by land from the nearest French post at Hung Hoa and also commanding the river route to Tuyenquang. A few days earlier the gunboat Mutin had been ordered to reinforce Revolver and Mitrailleuse at Tuyenquang, but she ran aground during her voyage up the Clear River and Eclair had to be sent to pull her off and tow her back to Hung Hoa. During the first half of November the French suffered a constant dribble of casualties as the gunboats sailing up and down the Clear River were engaged by the Black Flags at Uoc. In an engagement on the 12th of November Trombe suffered casualties of 1 man dead and 7 wounded. On one occasion Revolver had to steam at full speed to break a barrage laid across the Clear River, and on the 16th of November her crew sustained casualties of 2 men dead and 3 wounded from enemy fire from Uoc. The commander of the Tonkin Expeditionary Corps, General Louis Briere de Lisle, reacted swiftly to the attack on Revolver on the 16th of November. Foreseeing further such attacks, he decided to dispatch an expedition immediately to clear the Black Flags away from Uoc. At the same time, a food convoy would leave by water by resupply and relieve the garrison of Tuyenquang. A column of 5 infantry companies with supporting artillery was formed at Hung Hoa under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Duchesne. Duchesne's column set out for Tuyenquang on the morning of the 18th of November. The French troops were ferried aboard a flotilla of junks, escorted by the 4 gunboats based at Hung Hoa to a point 7 kilometers above Uoc. The troops went ashore on the afternoon of the 18th of November on the right bank of the Clear River and began marching slowly, in single file, towards Uoc in Tuyenquang. By the evening of the 18th of November the column was within a few hours' march of Uoc. No sign of the enemy had yet been seen. The Battle of Uoc, the 19th of November 1884. At dawn on the 19th of November the column set out for UOC. Herben and Chanis Marine Infantry companies led the way. The artillery followed and the two Legion companies brought up the rear. The Masoan advanced in silence, but they knew that the Chinese were aware of the march. At around 7 a.m., 3 shots were fired at the head of the column. The Chinese scouts were warning the comrades that the French were coming. The Marine infantry continued to advance, waiting for the Chinese to show themselves. Minutes later the advance guard came under fire from 3 sides from Chinese skirmishers. The Chinese were deployed across the path in the woods to its west, and on the further bank of the Clear River. Duchesne ordered the 2 Marine infantry companies to make a frontal attack on the Chinese blocking position, while de Borelli's Legion company simultaneously attacked the enemy's right flank. The 3 companies deployed, and after taking the Chinese position under a crossfire, de Borelli's Legionnaires charged and overran the Chinese front line. Lieutenant Goyuri and 2 men of his platoon were wounded in this assault. The Chinese fled, unmasking 300 meters to the rear, a fortified position of considerable strength, in the middle of which a large tree could be seen. The Marine infantry tried to push on towards the main Chinese position, but all their efforts to advance further were checked by a heavy weight of fire. For more than 2 hours they remained pinned down in front of the black flag lines, under fire from both the front and from skirmishes on the eastern bank of the river. As the Masoan exchanged shots with the tormentors, losses began to mount in the ranks. 1 officer, Lieutenant Schuster, was killed. D-Rap's guns did their best to support them, splitting the fire between the Chinese fort and the enemy skirmishes across the river. Eventually both the infantry and the gunners began to run short of ammunition, and there was no sign of the gunboats of the flotilla. However, help was on its way. While Chanu and Herben's companies were engaging the enemy frontally, de Borelli's Legion company had once again marched round the Chinese flank. At 10 a.m., just as the Masoan were down to the last few rounds, the Legionnaires emerged from the forest to the west of the Chinese position, threatening the Chinese line of retreat. The Chinese immediately abandoned the positions and fell back towards UOC, leaving behind several flags and ammunition boxes. Duchesne pressed on, with de Borelli's Legionnaires leading the way. 10 minutes later the column reached a deep and nearly vertical ravine, with the Chinese fort on the other side. The Chinese in the fort opened fire at the French vanguard, and de Borelli ordered his weary men to fix bayonets and charge. The Legionnaires scrambled down the ravine and up the other side, without returning fire. The Chinese abandoned the defenses before the French could close with them, and disappeared into the forests of UOC. De Borelli and Chanu pushed forward to the UOC pagoda and deployed the companies to form a defensive screen, while Herben and Moulon's men set fire to the Chinese barracks and destroyed part of the works. It was still only 10:30 a.m., and the column had already been in action twice. Duchesne now halted his men to allow them to regroup, eat an early lunch and replenish their ammunition. The French buried their dead, and the gunboat Eclair, which had finally linked up with the column, took the wounded on board and ferried them up to Tuyenquang. An hour later the march resumed. At 3:30 p.m., the column entered the UOC defile, whose exit towards Tuyenquang was blocked by 2 fortlets and by a series of trenches. Abattis nearly 300 meters deep covered the path. A force coming from Tuyenquang could not have crossed this pass. Around 7 p.m., the advance guard approached the citadel. Guessing that the sentries in the besieged fortress would be nervous, the buglers played the first few bars of Le Boudin, the famous Legion refrain, to which the troops in Tuyenquang replied. A scouting party coming from the fortress carried lanterns to facilitate the crossing of the last stream. French casualties in the engagement at Uosi were 10 dead and 37 wounded, mostly among the Marine infantry. Chinese and Black Flag casualties are unknown, but were certainly higher than the French casualties. Aftermath. On the 20th of November, under the protection of Eclair, the convoy reached Tuyenquang. The other gunboats remained at Uosi. On the same day, Duchesne, who for the moment had an entire Legion battalion under his command, sent out strong reconnaissances to clear the Black Flags from the immediate environs of Tuyenquang. He himself advanced on Trongmu and pushed the Black Flags back towards Phuan Bin, while Captain Schmeitelen, under the protection of Eclair's cannon, went to destroy the Chinese positions near Tuyenquang on the left bank of the Clear River. On 21 and the 22nd of November, Duchesne advanced northwest and burned the village of Dongdin, which had been used as a camp by the Black Flags. The Black Flags evacuated the village on his approach, and made no attempt to dispute the French advance. On the evening of the 22nd of November, Duchesne returned to Tuyenquang. Duchene's column left Tuyenquang on the 23rd of November to return to Sun Tay. During the return march, Duchesne established a French post at Fudong on the Clear River, 80 kilometers to the south of Tuyenquang, leaving a company of Marine infantry there as a garrison. Duchesne took with him the 2 Legion companies of the original garrison of Tuyenquang, leaving Chef de Bataillon Marc-Edmond Dominé behind as the new post commander with de Borelli and Moulon's Legion companies, Diaz Tonkin's, D. Rap's artillery section, Beaubilot's engineers, and a small medical and administrative staff. The gunboat Revolver had left earlier, but mitrailleuse remained at her station on the Clear River beyond the post walls. The garrison of Tuyenquang now consisted of just over 630 men, with food and provisions for 120 days, but had only 200 shells. The Farsi gunboat Revolver was also withdrawn from Tuyenquang, but mitrailleuse remained on station, and later distinguished herself in the siege of Tuyenquang. On the 24th of November, the day after Duchene's departure, Dominé declared Tuyenquang to be in a state of siege. The Battle of Uosi was merely the precursor to the 4-month siege of Tuyenquang. Order of the day. On the 24th of November 1884, General Brière de Lisle issued the following order of the day to commemorate the victory at Uosi. Le général commandant le corps expéditionnaire est héros de porter la connaissance des troupes les brillantes succès remportés par M. Le Colonel Duchesne sur les pavillons noirs et les réguliers du Yunnan concentrés et fortement retranchés sur le rive de la rivière Claire, dans la région sud de Tuyenquang. Le 19 novembre, à Uosi, après 4 jours d'un latte pignata, l'ennemi était mis en pleine déroute et fuyait dans la direction de l'ouest. Le 20, la colonne sortant de Tuyenquang détruisait tous les retranchements élevés par les Chinois dans les villages environnants et brûlait leurs approvisionnements. L'ennemi est poursuivi la baïonnette dans les reins. Le canonnier Leclerc a pris une part active de opérations. Nos pattes sont de huit tue acutes d'un terme sous-lieutenant Schuster, de l'infanterie de marine, et 25 blessés, d'un terme, Goyuri, lieutenant la Légion étrangère. Most French orders of the day during the Sino-French War recorded French casualties with scrupulous accuracy. This particular order slightly understates the French casualties at Uosi.